Welcome everybody to stage 12 of the Stage Clear podcast. We're glad to have you back. How you doing, James?
Man, I'm doing marvelous, brother. How's everyone out there? I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we are. We are doing pretty well. It was actually our me and the wife's 1 year anniversary this past Sunday. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hold the applause. um,
Yeah, we need acknowledgement on that, man. We need that. I I just want to say that, I feel like as a culture, as a people, as just our society, we do so much to acknowledge like guys that are not stepping up, but I kind of feel like, we really need to acknowledge the men that are actually doing what God, really called them to do. So I really want to just acknowledge, man, that's amazing, man. That's amazing.
yeah,
That's all.
I appreciate you saying that. There's a lot that went on in my own life to where I wanted to do what was right in my head, right? And I'm just fortunate to have found, Julie so early, and we became best friends and stayed together. We're together 9 years now total, 1 year married. And so that's been a blessing for me, having her and growing with her in our, just as a relationship, in our spirituality, as a family now that we have our little daughter. It's been such a blessing, and I encourage anybody else out there to kind of search for it. Don't give up on love, and if there are situations, not everyone's as lucky as we are, but there's never an excuse or never a reason to not be an intentional parent, to the kids in that life, and not to be courtesy and like good to the spouse and or the ex-spouse, whatever, right? It's important to foster a loving home as much as you can, and there's no reason to not be that person, right? So, kind of a lot of generational trauma and everything. We're getting like right into it, but a lot of
I was gonna say like,
hey, you know what? We're tabling the entertainment. We're starting with philosophy. It's happening.
there you go. Let's do it. Let's do it.
A lot of the generational trauma that is seen across the nation, culturally and everything, it stems from all the problems in society. It stems from a lack of fathers in the home, a lack of intentional parenting, and then broken homes, and broken homes lead to broken societies. Point to any problem in society today, and I can point to the result of a broken home. And it is our job, our duty, as leaders and as men, to do our best to be a part of the solution and not the problem. You know, it is up to us to take up the charge, take up the mantle to heal from our past trauma, acknowledge where your parents went wrong, acknowledge what happened to you, right? And if you can go to that dark place, it's not nice to go to. No one likes to go there. But if you can go there and actually take something positive from it, right? Learn something from it and have it rapidly change your life, help you change your kids' lives so that they, grow from that. They don't have to deal with that. And then you can go even further and spread that message, share your trauma, and like spread what you've learned so that others can go like be better for it. That's something beautiful, turning something awful into something beautiful. And that's something that we all have the power to do with trauma and heartbreak.
Amen. Amen to that, brother.
Yeah, we I actually talk about it a lot on Twitter. If you don't follow me there, there's a bunch of links in the description. Check them out. You follow both of our social medias. We're always talking about different topics like that. So if you want to hear more like that, that's where you can get it. But I go on these things called Twitter Spaces, which are almost like mini podcasts, but people on Twitter can talk and have other people be speakers. But we do this thing called Dad's Day, which we make it like it's every day. It's every day to be an intentional dad, an intentional parent. But we talk about different things in the mornings, and it hits topics like today we talked about for parent, like, were your parents right, and they're going through the process of like forgiving your parents, but also being able to call them out, right? Don't not just blindly accepting that they did their best. Oftentimes it's okay to point out where they went wrong and where they missed the mark, so you can not make those mistakes, right? We talk about all sorts of things in raising kids and being a good dad and being a good parent and peaceful parenting too. There's a lot, and this is a boat that I was on at first, right? About, I thought it was okay to hit kids and everything. I thought, it's discipline and everything. I was hit as a kid. It's fine. I turned out okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But when I actually went on Twitter and found these other dads, these other passionate men that are trying to be leaders in their communities and, bring other guys up and make people be the best versions of themselves, be there for their families, be there for their kids, for their wives, and for their communities, I find really good examples of people to look up to that have kids of varying ages. They've been through it, they've been there. But I discovered the idea that no, you don't have to hit your kids. You know, it's actually detrimental to them. It doesn't matter if you turned out okay. Like it will actually, it's putting harm in their way. It's viewing you as a domineering, authoritative father when you should be a loving and trusting resource for them. You know, if you hit your kids, you're developing a psychological like fear. And that will either raise them one of two ways, right? They'll either become a yes man and they will just, agree with everything you say blindly and never confront you. And then they will go on in life to need someone to tell them what to do, right? They won't have autonomy. They will just agree with whatever is told to them. Or it turns into like a resentful, um, you know, antagonist to you. And they will just hate everything you say, never trust you, and then they will look to others for guidance. And they, again, so if you're in the sense of like teaching your kids and giving them the best experience and the best opportunities and the best, you have to give them the tools to navigate the world, right? It's not about them being just like you or being how you want them to be, but it's that about giving them the tools so that they can seek truth, right? And they can find something in earnest, and loving them regardless of their outcome is kind of
Mm.
important too. So all these kind of lessons that they stem from a big part of like peaceful parenting. And it's we say in society like I can't go up to you, James. I can't go and hit you, right? I can't go up to anybody
Mm.
else in real life and like hit them. I can't. It's shunned to hit your pets, right? But oh, hit your kids. It's just discipline. It's fine. That's fine. The kids, it's like it doesn't matter. It's just teaching them a lesson. There are other ways to go about it. A big disconnect for fathers in parenting is when we don't treat the kids as equals. We treat them as just lesser and that they don't know anything, and we need to tell them everything, and they should blindly, obey us. And while the scripture does say, honor your father and mother, that's no reason to be, you are not God. You are not all knowing. You are not all powerful, right? So it is also important to just come at it from a different perspective, not from an authoritarian standpoint, but like get on their level, talk to them eye to eye, like a person, like a human, and acknowledge like where they're coming from, and explain, what it is, why you know what you know, and this is why we have to do it. And you will foster a much better relationship where you don't have to deal with these problems later on, right? It's about preventative parenting too, That's a lot of the wisdom I've gotten from those spaces that I've been a part of on Twitter, and just learning from other guys' dad's experiences. It's really like changing. It's important to seek out others and engage with other men going through the same thing, and that kind of transformation and not shattering of your worldview, but open to other perspectives, right?
Some interesting perspectives. Yeah, I didn't know that was your position on that.
It,
Interesting, interesting.
yeah, so it's, that one is a little bit more not really talked about. No one talks about it, you know? Kids are kind
I
of
agree.
treated as
I
second
agree.
class citizens a little bit. And like I said, I was a part of the same thing. It took me going onto this space or these places on Twitter and everything and looking, okay, I'm going to be a dad now. I want to make sure I do things right. I want to give my daughter the best head up in life I can. How can I be the best parent I can, right? Go look for these resources of other parents that have been through it, that are trying to do better, people that have like-minded core values and
Mm.
want the same things. And you'll find that there's better ways to do things than how you were. And just because you turned out all right doesn't mean it's the best way either. It's about what's best for that kid. So, not everyone's gonna agree, but that's something I learned that's pretty, new to me, and I think I'm passionate about it now, adamantly that there's other ways to go about it.
Okay, okay. I actually want to share some thoughts on that because I'm actually on the opposite end of that.
Okay. All right. Let's get into it.
Well, yeah, yeah. I'll just put it on the table more so, and if you have any questions, I don't mind. Um, I didn't, first off, my family did implement corporal punishment. There was spanking, there was slapping the hands. If we did things that we shouldn't do, there was a lot of plenty of that. And so I noticed that, and I remember, I was probably 13 or 14, maybe 13 or 12 when I received my last uh, spanking attempt. I'm going to say I think my mother was trying to spank me. I did something, and I was so big, she was looking at me, and I think we both realized that okay, it was time to stop. Like this chapter is over now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I look back, and at the moment, did I enjoy the spankings? Absolutely not. But I personally, I feel incredibly thankful that my family, and I'm going to say my family because my older sister as well implemented corrections and things like that as well. Um, I feel like it had a lot to do with my upbringing and why I didn't really go out, and I'm going to say go as far as I could have in regards to embracing my I'm going to say my sinful nature and things like that. There was some type of correction that was applied to my life that I thought, okay, this is actually doing something to me. And I wasn't, I realized that our society was going towards this, not only like being more politically correct, but even when it comes to corporal punishment, it's almost seen as like a almost demonic among some people. Some people, it's just something like, it's like abuse. It's like, hey, how dare you do that to your child? And I see a lot of parents, and I work more on the west side of LA, so a lot of these families they implement this. No, I'm not going to correct my child, but I'm going to be their best friend. And so you pretty much have 3-year-olds running households. And I've watched this. Beverly Hills, Westwood, you name it. I've seen 3 and 4-year-olds decide, no, we're not going to go to the grocery store. No, we're going to go to McDonald's. Or no, and but I see this, and so I have some verses actually I wanted to share because I think that it's important to keep this in mind that this is not a human idea. It's actually something foundational that came straight from the mouth of God.
Yeah.
So a lot of these, yeah. So just to unpack some of these, just to kind of get them here, because it wasn't until later on I discovered, oh, God actually addresses, the correction aspect, and it's very interesting how He's very specific with what He's talking about. So Proverbs 13:24 says, "Whoever spares the rod hates his son." Okay, so whoever spares the rod, that means you're not going to physically, spank your child. Whoever spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Which I thought, wow, this is, now obviously, um, I would not, you know, claim that the Bible is trying to encourage us to abuse children,
Or to beat them with
absolutely not,
rods.
Yeah. But this is specifically, talking about corporal punishment. And so for anybody who may have some second thoughts, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's not exactly that, I have another verse here.
Go on, because I was gonna interject there, but go on.
Yeah. Okay. And now what's interesting is this one is even more specific. So check this out. Proverbs 23, 13 through 14. Do not withhold discipline from a child. If you strike him with a rod, he will not die. If you strike him with the rod, you will save his soul from Sheol. Sheol is another place of like hell,
Okay.
but it's more Hebrew. Yeah. So it's actually saying if you actually apply this, you can assist them with avoiding going to hell.
Yeah.
So it's very specific. It's very specific. I have a few more. I don't want to read too many, but maybe one or two more. Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. So I actually feel like
That's
this
a
is
good one.
actually applying to what you were talking about. Like you don't want to abuse your child and at the point where you can actually make them a lot worse than what they could have been just all on their own.
Yeah.
Now they can have some type of animosity towards you as the parent and things like that. So, and I've seen families like this because parents took it too far with their discipline. Not
Yeah.
only even corporal punishment. Sometimes it's just, hey, you guys can't watch TV for a month. Hey, you guys can't do this. No, you can't go out. And so what happens is it backfires, and that
Yep.
child starts saying, okay, well, I'm going to leave the house and
It's
forget you
exactly
because
what we're talking about.
yeah. I'll just read one more here. Proverbs 29:15. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother.
Hmm.
So again, going back to the rod, so it's not really giving us any. It's not. It's being very specific that the Bible is actually talking about, you know, corporal punishment, what we would call corporal punishment. But I do think that there's a distinction between, of course, what God is talking about in regards to corrections, versus actual abuse.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's interesting because I do agree this is something that's not talked about.
Yeah, it's I love that you brought up those verses. You know, it's great to that's what I love about the Bible is like you can have an issue and you can think it through, and then there's always an answer, like right from
Right there,
directly God's word, His divine
right
revelation
there.
to us. Right, He has spoken like an object moral truth. Right, so that is
Absolutely.
awesome. What I think where some interpretation. So, and also just before I say that is that I was listening to what book it was because I'm like, okay, haven't got to Proverbs yet. Okay, having Ephesians in the back of the book. I still got time, right?
Oh,
Because
okay, okay.
I would hope that I would have known what you were gonna say before. But yeah, so we just actually hit
Okay,
the
okay,
book of
okay.
Job. We can talk about
Yeah,
that
you're
later.
definitely gonna get there. You're gonna get there, and it's gonna be interesting because somebody's gonna say something, and you're gonna say, "Oh, that's First Peter three
Yeah,
fifteen.
yeah.
Oh, that's Book of Revelations chapter 1."
What I wanted to
We
say
get
that
there.
what I wanted to say was I like those verses, and I don't think that my views would contradict them because it
Okay.
makes a specific point to talk about discipline, right? It
Mhm,
mentions the
mhm.
rod. It is specific about that, but it
Very
also
specific.
is specific about discipline. You know, and the Ephesians one is kind of one I would more present or line up with, where it is without that discipline. Yes, the child will run amok, or I'm not sure if that was the one that said to Sheol,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then I
No, you're
guess
right.
a question to you because I brought this up a little bit, but when it says withhold the rod and you send them that way or whatever, when it's making emphasis of the rod specifically, would you advocate and do you think the Bible is advocating for using an item, an object to hit your child? And then where is that line drawn? Can a Christian or someone else? Well, I think we would argue that a true convert, a real Christian, would not misread that and abuse their child like
No,
horribly.
no, no.
Yeah,
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 it's like
or with
I was
an
like, whoa,
item,
whoa,
right,
whoa.
or with some
Not talking about
object,
that, sir.
right.
Yeah.
But is there
Okay,
room
you're
there
saying
where
like
it's a
in
little
regards to
cloudy?
items.
Because it's
Mm,
talking about with the rod, and I think most parents would fall on, yeah, I'm not going to hit my kid with any object, but a spanking is fine.
hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because there's there's more verses here, and I'm not pretty much they kind of reemphasize the same things, but I'll say this that the Bible throughout human history has always been used to abuse authority. When it
Yeah,
came to the black slave trade, there was people who said, "Oh, hey, the Bible says you have to be a slave. Look, even God said this." And so there were people that actually said, "Oh, okay, well then let me submit to this and not challenge it because therefore, somebody misconstrued a verse, and so there were black slaves that actually agreed with it. And I said, okay, well, if God said that, well, then we have to be quiet and shut up and accept this. So there's always been cult leaders. There's always been people that abused the Bible. So absolutely, I'm pretty sure there are people that says I don't know, they're grabbing, I don't know, maybe something that they really shouldn't, a metal object or something in there. I'm sure there are people that are twisted that. And I think this is why, I always emphasize this one. I love that you're doing it as well, that we are always making this distinction that, for real, genuine Christians, we are actually changed by God. We have different
yeah,
convictions than maybe our old selves. So I was even talking to somebody recently. I was saying that, I'm in a place now where I wouldn't go to a pool party, because I just don't want to see, ladies in bikinis and stuff like that. Like, I don't have a place for that, for me specifically. And I wouldn't go around saying, "Hey guys, you guys shouldn't do." I just know it's not for me. It's not for
that's a
me.
pretty extreme view, if you don't mind me saying. Like you won't go to the beach
Mhm.
anymore either.
Oh no, no, I love the beach. I love the sound of the waves. I think it's very therapeutic. I'm even thinking about filming some of my YouTube stuff over there. But
His
yeah,
YouTube
I'm
is in
just
the
talking about like
description. He talks about
specifically
all these things all the time. Check it out.
unique perspectives. Check it out. Check it out. But yeah, yeah, I just know that I know that it's wise to and this is something Romans 14 specifically addresses is going against one's conscience. So even like with you, if you were convicted that okay, I don't necessarily have to use this specific method to correct my children. If it's going against your conscience, no, I wouldn't want you to go against it. As a Christian, there are going to be convictions that you're going to have that may go against your conscience, and so for me specifically, the pool party thing would be that. It's like it's just I don't know, like it's different if we were having a pool party and it's all um, men and women who love God, everyone would be mindful of what they're wearing and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
but versus an environment that they're not really Christian, they don't care about that, and everyone's wearing the skimpiest, smallest things, and then there's alcohol as well, and so it's just too much stuff that And for me, I just would prefer not to put myself in that position. I don't have any desire to put myself in that position. You know, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it gets a lot
yeah,
into. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. If you've got more to say.
yeah, yeah. No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay,
It's
I
okay.
think it gets into a lot of the true convert and changing of the heart. Changing
Absolutely.
of the
John
heart
3:3,
will
the
change your
new birth.
desires.
Absolutely.
And I've even taken a step further in light of I guess an example I could say that I almost just did this like after it was like our anniversary was coming up and I was thinking, and not that I do this all the time, but I have obviously through high school and whatever, I have a lot of acquaintances that were women as well, and friends that are, now my friends' wives or in relationship, whatever, right? So I had a lot of
Hmm.
those. I was following a lot of those people on social media, and maybe we talked, as friends or whatever at one point. But and I would never, pursue these women, no do anything scandalous. I always have my phone open. I'm not trying to hide anything. Julie knows that, and she can,
Hmm.
whatever. And I think that's also a problem with like if you have something to hide on your phone, like that's you got other problems. You know what I'm saying
Oh
in your
yes, yes,
relationship.
yeah.
So,
Agreed.
but apart from that, taking it a step further and understanding the biblical view of when you think of someone with lust, you are committing adultery of the heart. You know,
Correct.
and
Correct.
so battling with like a porn addiction for a while and not understanding my whole life that it was an addiction, just thinking, it was fine. It's something everyone does and it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. You know,
Hmm.
kind of,
That's normal. Everybody goes through it.
yeah.
That's most of us justify that. It's like, oh, okay, it's natural, and you know.
It's not natural at all though when you think about it.
No, no,
Like,
it's not. It's not.
and there's
And then
a
you
lot of
started looking at women as objects rather than human beings.
yeah, there's a
And
lot
you
of
objectify them. Hmm.
like societal and wrong that happens and it conditions us in a bad way, like you said, to objectify women. But it took reading through the Bible, His divine revelation, to actually start to change my heart and to like lessen these desires. So I had the strength to, you know, quit forever. Right? I
Mm.
am like since the start of this year, so like 5 months or so clean. Um, and you'll notice, like I said, it was our year anniversary, right? I wish I could have told you that I was done when we were married. I went like 3 months, I think, but eventually
Okay.
I fell back into it and I think it was because I was busy with things and I didn't take the time to seriously like go through the word and truly analyze, everything. Um,
Yeah.
but I can say now, I'm this far with it, right? And taking that a step
Yeah.
further, and again, like I was saying before, not that I would ever idolize these women or anything,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course not. Of
but
course
social media and we've talked about it before, but women will post whatever they want on social media, and there are more modest women that don't post scandalous stuff or whatever, but there are others that do, and then there are others that will do sometimes, or maybe it's just them working out, which was tough for me because it's like I'm all for health and working out, but I
not.
just
Yeah, I can imagine the
yeah,
position you're in with
yeah.
that. Yeah. They're
Um,
wearing their spandex and
but how
yeah.
it and it's like I'm like I said, I'm all for advocating working out, but how I felt it for me in my heart when I honestly analyzed my conscience is like if something comes up on my Instagram and she's over my shoulder and it's just a bunch of women on the stories or like in the feed, and I feel like I don't want to scroll or I want to get out of that because I don't want her to think that I'm doing something. That's
Mm.
wrong, right? So I shouldn't. It's
Okay.
all
No, that's an interesting angle. That's interesting.
because I
Okay.
knew nothing was wrong. I knew I wasn't committing I wasn't doing anything bad. And I've
Okay.
even,
Okay.
when the changing of my heart happened, I had even, taken steps to like not click on certain things, right? And again, I've talked about this before, how social media is an algorithm and it'll show you what you mostly will keep you on the app.
So true. So true.
So if you find that your explore page is a bunch of ass, or
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
anything else, if it's that's the first thing that comes up, it's because that's what you engage with most and that's what you're looking at most, right?
Yeah. That's
And
so
so that's
true.
where you're spending your energy, your sexual energy, and your
Mm.
your
Mm.
um your life force, and that is kind of meant to find a Wi-Fi, like search for the one and give that to them. So
So
we've gotten
true.
to a point societally where like porn is such a common thing and everything else that
Mm.
we don't have control over that ourselves, and we just give it
Yeah.
to anything and everything, and we don't value that in us, that drive and everything. We'll
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
blindly give it
You know,
to.
yeah, yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. One thing I was gonna say, and I just want to kind of chime in because now that I'm thinking about this, it was like at one point I was meeting a lot more people on social media, men and women, that I would meet, online, and then I would, if they were in LA, I would just have lunch with them, or I'd meet them at their homes, meet their families and stuff like that. And I remember one lady in particular that I met, and I met her children and her family and stuff like that. But I remember we were talking at one point, and we were getting really close, just talking about life and talking about just kind of dark, difficult things that we've battled in our lives. And I talked about some of my insecurities, but she mentioned that she noticed that she's always been into porn for years, like just watching it, and she never really felt that it did anything to her. If anything, she felt that it enhanced her sexual experience with the men that she was with, and just that statement alone tells you where she's at with, her Christian walk, or whatever it is that she was doing. Um, but I remember she telling me that she did notice over the years that the more she watched certain material that would be considered regular, mainstream, whatever, it wasn't doing it for her anymore. And so she started transitioning into homosexual related things. And I don't know how long, I don't know how many months or years that she grew accustomed to that she started going into things that were included more people, because the other stuff wasn't doing it for her, you
Yeah,
know. Yeah, yeah.
it's
And
a
ultimately,
slippery slope of perversion.
oh man. But what really broke my heart and what really helped, minister to me was she explained that, she was at the point now where she was actually looking up things. It's almost, I almost feel sick saying it, but um, she actually started looking into things, with animals, you
Yeah,
know, because it got that bad. It got that bad that,
yeah.
yeah, the bestiality related stuff, so the other stuff wasn't doing it for her anymore, and yeah, so it just really it ministered to me and explained to me that that sinful nature when we indulge in it and bask in it, how it really cost a lot. It cost a lot, and
It does, and
imagine
it's
trying
not
to
always
marry
talked about.
somebody like that. Yeah, 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 yeah. So it
Let
comes with a yeah, it comes with a cost, man. So it's just
I'm
yeah, I just want to share that.
No, that's awesome.
Yes.
I'm gonna finish this point, and then I want to let's get into it. Let's get into that whole discussion.
Okay.
So yeah, just all I was saying was that like,
Hmm.
I have actively taken steps like recently to actually unfollow these people, and actually the ones that I do care about that I have like talked to personally, we've had good conversations. I appreciate them, and even Julie would know them or not. And anything if it's a level like that, I would mute like their posts. And so like
Okay.
I'm still follow. I still if they want to chat, and that's the other thing too with this whole life coaching thing I'm doing and everything else. Like I'm not just helping men. I'm down to help women. I want to help everyone with relationship coaching as well. So
Hmm.
I'm not never gonna talk to a woman again. I'm not never gonna see a woman again. That's
Yeah, yeah,
silly.
yeah. Of
But
course not.
for the sake of consistently, seeing something that I have to turn away from, that I'm like, okay, good for her or whatever, but I don't want to look at that because I love and respect my wife. Um,
Hmm.
so I've just, you know, uh, kind of slash and burned a little bit the social media with that sense. And no offense to anybody, any acquaintances from high school or anybody, anything. But it's just, for me, I don't want to engage with any of that unless my wife is present or something like that, out of respect for her, out of respect to myself, to not give any false illusions or anything, right? Um, like I said, there was nothing ever going on, and she always had access to my phone. But even when my sister was living here with us, I'd be on Instagram and she'd scroll by, oh, like, who's that? you know? And it's like, I know it's a joke, and I know she doesn't mean that, and I know she knows nothing's going on, and I didn't
It
feel
was
like
it was
in
interesting.
trouble, but the fact that that's even a scenario,
Oh
even
yeah,
a
oh yeah,
joking
yeah.
one, even a joking one, I don't want to even bring that up. I want to, like, just have it where um, I'm just not,
Yeah, I
I
got it.
don't even have to deal with
Yeah,
the
yeah, you're
temptation.
honoring your wife. Yeah, yeah, you're honoring your wife. You're in a safe space. Like there's an understanding that you want to glorify God. You want to have a clear conscience, and yeah, you're not doing that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's interesting because it wasn't until maybe a year after I joined Instagram some years ago that I realized that it had a reputation for just being like a soft porn site, for
Yeah,
some guys,
there's a lot of
like
scandalous
I
stuff on
know,
there.
yeah, yeah, I have a cousin that the only thing he cares about is following hundreds and thousands of just very beautiful women. Like he doesn't care about anything else. That's the only thing he's there for. He may
Yeah.
chat with me, but and it's interesting you make the point about what you did because I also found myself deleting. Well, and it's funny because it didn't occur to me I can mute, their posts, but but yeah, I remember like for example, I was at church, my last church, and I remembered distinctively there was this really amazing couple, really great couple that, and I think the lady had maybe two, three kids, but they were like serious about their workouts. So she looked amazing, he looked amazing, and they were just always working out. They were always taking photos with each other. But man, I'm telling you, like you would never know she would have had any children. The way that she was looking, she was like serious about her workouts and her dieting or whatever. And I remember like, going through my Instagram and seeing him on his individual post, arms out, and just flexing. And, I'm like, oh, man, look at the, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
He's working out. And, I would see him with his wife, but then I would see her individual um, post, and it just looked like, I just thought to myself, like, man, this is a very attractive woman. And she's married. She has three children. That's her husband. I know him. I can't. I can't, and I didn't go around advertising like, oh, hey guys, by the way, I'm gonna unfollow her, but I had to. I realized I had to. She was an attractive woman, and that's a man that I respect,
Yeah,
and
and
I
it's
put,
like it's power to her, power that's awesome, and I'm not
yeah,
saying we're sitting here objectifying you. That's where people are trying to
yeah,
we're trying to push
yeah,
people
yeah,
away from, you know?
yeah,
Um
absolutely not.
and it's just not my
Yeah,
place, There's a lot of people that
yeah,
will just like follow like you said just for the looks or something, and
yeah,
that's when it's like a little shady, when you're repeating
yeah.
the story, or when you're, what they call, I guess, like social media stalking or whatever, when you like go through like old photos, or, you know,
Oh, absolutely. And it's at
um,
the point now where you could even save videos and stuff like that because I saved like speeches from like I don't know Trump and stuff like that, like little things that he say and do. Like I save little excerpts or whatever that I really like, or somebody sharing a fact about politics and philosophy and But yeah, I would imagine there's people that are collecting this, and some people just like I don't know, screenshot or like to them, it's basically just a porn site, Like they don't really look into the things that they could, like what you and I would do when it comes to philosophy, when it comes to politics, maybe life coaching, ministering to people, evangelism. It's just to excite themselves, and I do really see that it's going to be an ongoing war, whether we are a bachelor, or we're single, or we're married. It's going to be, because we men are visual, like that's gonna
yeah,
die that way.
like
We're very sensitive to.
you can't just lie to yourself and like think like, oh, that's like, I'm not gonna look at that, like it's not an
Yeah,
attractive
yeah,
lady.
yeah,
Like beauty
yeah.
is almost
Exactly. That's
objective,
my point.
you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's
yeah.
about, having
Yeah.
respect for yourself and your wife, and your
Oh,
whatever, that
absolutely,
just you don't let yourself fall into that. Where I
absolutely.
think it's hard, or where we might disagree, is where
Hmm.
you kind of take it to where you're not going to go to a pool party or anything. And this might be because
Oh
I
yeah,
haven't thought it through or something, but I think
hmm
it's different in real life because those things are going to happen and they come up
hmm
anyway. And it's like, and like I said, the whole time we're not ogling. It's not because, oh, if you're wearing something like that, I will be uncontrollable. That's not
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
point.
No, yeah, yeah. I'm not talking about yeah. Like, hey, who are
Yeah,
you? What's your
yeah.
number? And yeah, I'm not talking about that. But yeah,
The point
I'm just
is,
saying, yeah, it's just difficult, for me at least.
yeah, just regulating yourself, and like in that scenario,
Mhm.
eyes eyes front, or just like just and yeah, I think it's just a line for every man to kind of toe, and just I just show respect to, that's a human being, acknowledge them as
Right.
such, treat them as such, someone in God's image, um,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and for me, like I said, it was just that scenario with Caitlin that was like pushing me, like really, like I don't even want that scenario to be brought up,
Correct. Correct.
um,
Sure.
And up to that point, before I made this decision to just actually not even see it anymore, I had done a lot of good work with my algorithm to make it
Mm,
more just like
yeah.
the stuff that I want to see, and more nerd
Hmm.
stuff, more like philosophy and positive messages, and my guy friends and their wins, and
Yeah,
that's what's
that's
hard
cool.
about the decision, because I would check stories, and that, like, that's what I'm saying. A lot of these people, they're not women, they're not posting stuff like that all the time, you know.
Hmm.
And so like I love building people up and affirming them trying to improve themselves. So I was like
Yeah, of
I
course.
messaged this like, oh, that's awesome, you're trying to improve that, Um, so it sucks that I'm not going to be able to, like, see that and encourage. But again, uh, I don't really want to be talking to another woman extensively, like without my wife anyway, like continuously back and forth, like, you know,
You know what? I was actually going to address that because I was going to say that if you continue down this path, you obviously will not only have more men taking interest in what you're teaching, but women obviously as well. And so I can imagine that would be a little bit more trickier because let's
yeah.
say the lady is an attractive lady, and let's say of course you're not interested in trying to pursue her, but you're trying to assist her and help her. It's like, okay, when is it okay for her to text you at 5 p.m.? Is it okay 8 p.m.? What are the boundaries? If she calls you, do you pick it up? But she's a client, so yeah, it can be very
I think
tricky.
I haven't had a female client yet, but what I will
Oh,
say
okay,
is that what I had in mind, because there's ladies that do this too,
that's true.
I have a network of people that I've met and interacted with, so I would refer them to one of them. After a certain point, I would give
Yeah.
them my general knowledge, because the other thing, I'm not a woman. I don't know exactly what women go through,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's
yeah.
things
Correct,
I
correct.
couldn't help them with, right? But there are general
Hmm.
human things that I can help with that we all go through. From that
Amen.
perspective, from that
Amen. I'm
sense,
with
I
you
can
on that.
give my advice and everything. Um, and how it goes is, like, I would have a call right in the beginning. We'd kind of analyze what they're going through, kind of where they came from, and what they want to do, right? And I'd
Hmm.
kind of help them just build a
Hmm.
structure to achieve that. And if they can't do it
Hmm.
themselves, they need more help. That's when we can make that happen. But I think if it was, depending on what it was, right? If it's just like, I need help with workouts, I don't know what to do. I can give them a list of
Hmm.
workouts to do. If it's
Hmm.
relationship, that's something with both the person and the other person, ideally. So I can do
Hmm.
that. But when it comes to like more feminine things, like I can even refer to my wife. I'm sure she'd have a lot to say about it. But there are other people
Hmm.
on Twitter and everywhere else that do these things as well. So I can at that time refer them.
I actually really like that response because I will say that and I'll use this as an example, and this is not quite the same, but similar. I remember there was a lady I knew in Alabama, Christian woman, and we were close enough to we're friends obviously, and would talk about God and talk about evangelism and things like that. And so one of the guys that she knows started to challenge her in regards to the Christian faith and things like that. And what she did was, instead of, even though she had some answers, instead of just going back and forth with him, she actually made an arrangement to put me on the phone, three-way, and let me talk to the guy.
Hmm.
Yeah, she let me talk to the guy, and it worked out very well. But I love how she understood that it was almost more appropriate for a man to speak to a man. She understood that, especially with this, the context of the conversation. She seen that that was more appropriate, and it worked out incredibly well. And I even told her afterwards, like, "Wow, that was so wise for you to know that, as a woman, some guys won't take what you have to say seriously, even if you're telling them the truth, but they will approach another man very differently." And so I would imagine, yeah, vice versa in this scenario that you and I are talking about. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I still recognize I'm a man. I'm a
Yeah.
man, and whether I'm married or not, I know that there are temptations. It's not like you can cut it off. We are human beings. We have a nature that is being subdued. Because of our new birth. But we are human beings. We mess up. There are Christians that have messed up. You know, um, you and I don't know how far you are with your reading, but there's King David, there's Solomon, his son. They're very wise. They love God, and 300 plus concubines and wives.
Yeah.
So it's just it can be a very tricky thing for men. So it's just really yeah. But I love what you're talking about. I love the parameters and the boundaries that you seem to be already kind of coming.
Absolutely. I think you mentioned like, oh, if she's in my phone, and I wasn't even thinking I would let it get to that point. I'm like, that's we're not gonna have that problem.
Yeah,
But it is a realistic thing with the client. Like if you take them on
absolutely.
seriously and they're paying you for your services, there is that level of access that they would have. But so that's where like the line would kind of you know be drawn. I don't think for what I could provide the woman, the general, like I don't think it's necessary to go to that level of
Okay.
you know. Um, but anyway,
Uh,
and we're back. Some technical difficulties there. Bear with us. You guys shouldn't hear or see much trouble after post editing. Um, but we're back now. We're gonna kind of continue to get this ball rolling. We'll roll right into some entertainment. Unless James, you got any crazy stories for us? You always want to have some things to bring up.
You know what? I don't think I have anything too crazy. Not really.
Cool.
But no, look, yeah, we can go into our entertainment, man.
Cool. Save it, build it up for next week. It'll be even better. Um,
Oh, you know it. You know it.
so we talked about some of these movies before. I didn't get a chance to see all of them that have come out recently. We talked about Morbius. We talked about Sonic, and I actually took the time this week to see like those what was on my homework list. I wasn't planning on Morbius, but I know I had to see Sonic. I know we both love the games, and we've talked about the movies before. I knew I had to see this
Yeah.
movie, especially after you said like I can't remember if you said it was better than Batman or not, but
It was something we compared it to, and I just emphasized I really enjoyed the second one a lot.
you really enjoyed
Yeah.
the Sonic movie. So
Oh yeah.
the Sonic 2.
Absolutely.
Uh, and look, watching it, after watching 1 and 2, I have to agree with you.
Man, right?
Those like okay, so Sonic 1 was a good movie. It was solid. It did its
Yes, it is.
job.
Oh, yes, it is.
Love,
Yes.
how they kind of portrayed Sonic. Glad they made that switch from the old animated version to this one after the outcry, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But
Fun, fun.
it was good. It was solid, and I loved like Jim Carrey's Eggman was like it's definitely Jim Carrey, you know.
Oh,
He's really Jim
he,
Carreying it
he just
up.
made the movie, man. The first one is perfect. He just, honestly, I love Sonic, but even if they just took Sonic out and it was just about Eggman, I would have
Yeah.
just watched. I would have enjoyed
You're
every
right. You're
minute
right.
of
It was entertaining.
it. Right?
I had to convince still like, no, that's Eggman. That's like he's awkward. He's a dork, and yeah, that's him. But Jim Carrey comes out a lot in that, and I was a little like, obviously I want my characters and any representation with something and a intellectual property that I love. I want faithful representation, right?
Yes,
Superhero
of course.
movies, video games, anything. I want faithful representation, and they did pretty damn good with like the mannerisms and the outfits and everything. Um,
Yes.
what I will say is that it'd obviously be great if he was fat, the fat suit and everything. I think you said that Jim Carrey has talked about he'd be willing to do it.
Oh yeah, more than willing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to make
S-
that happen. Actually.
So I think it's awesome. I loved how that first movie left Eggman. And those end credit scenes about him when Jim Carrey, I think he actually was trying to do the voice too, the
Oh, yeah. Oh
the raspy voice, and,
yeah.
But I that's and then how the mustache came out and went all crazy, you know.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it.
So I thought like, oh, I'm so down for this. Maybe that was his origin, and now this is him becoming Eggman, becoming obsessed with Sonic. Like he's turning into this person, this character, and I was like, okay, that's believable, And I think
Yeah,
that comes
that,
into more fruition in the second movie when you see a lot more
definitely.
of him, coming out. I wish because there is like literally the end credit scene of Sonic One is Jim Carrey does a specific voice and he's trying to kind of emulate Eggman's voice better than just his own voice, and I'm sure that's really hard to
Yeah.
do, and you can't really act very well when you're keeping up a voice like that for some people. So I was a little disappointed in the second one when he still talked the same. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But he still, there
Yeah.
was a lot of effort to show the transition and how Eggman is becoming Eggman. So maybe he'll get the fat suit at some point, right? But I loved the Reds, you know, the change in his costume, the change in his mustache, everything. That was phenomenal, spot on. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
we got to see him in the drone thing, his like little,
Oh,
his,
I love that.
yeah.
I love it. Oh, I love every bit of that, man. That's like straight from Sonic 2, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was great.
Man. Yeah. Oh.
Um, so I loved like I said, Sonic 1 was good. Sonic 2 was great. I loved that movie. It was awesome. I thought Idris Elba did great as Knuckles. You know, phenomenal job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really portrayed the character super well. It's just entertaining. It was a well, you know, everything kind of
Right.
flowed and
With you. Oh, well done, man. Well done. Oh,
and then there
yeah.
was just enough time to where like they teamed up in the end. You know, they went through all the things and now they were
Yeah.
all three a team. They were going against Eggman and they got his giant robot in. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was really well done because pretty much, that was pretty much the story with when Sonic 3 came out and Knuckles was introduced, and then Sonic and Knuckles came out, which reinforced the Sonic and Knuckles story, and pretty much it was the same thing. It was, Knuckles was somehow under the impression Eggman was the good guy because Eggman convinced him that Sonic's the bad guy, and so for a while, yeah, Knuckles was working with him, but it's not until in the game, and it's funny because this is back when it was the Sega Genesis, so there was no voice acting or anything. But you
oh,
can see by the jumping of the little characters, you can see like at one point, Knuckles is fighting Sonic for Eggman a few times. You encounter him, but it's not until one of the moments where there's the Master Emerald, and you can see Knuckles trying to protect it, and then Eggman takes one of his machines and lifts up, and Knuckles is confused, like what the heck is. And so you take the initiative to help, and Knuckles realizes, oh, you're the good guy.
yep,
You're the good guy. So I really loved how they did that transition, and I was waiting for it, and they did it. Such a good job with it, for Knuckles to see, like, oh, Sonic actually has like a heart. Like he's really, he's actually the one, helping.
yeah.
And it was so fascinating to see that transition. And I love Tails. I thought
Tails was really
just
well
like
too.
right. Like I feel like Tails was just enough, not to dominate everything, but always to kind of point towards Sonic, emphasize Sonic, but Tails had his own identity as well. So it
Yep.
was really nice. Really well done. Real
They
well
were
done.
so faithful to the characters, and even talking about it makes me want to watch it again. Like I
Yeah,
loved
me too.
so many
Me
scenes,
too.
and like that's the first movie in a while that I was like, I want to watch again, like so soon, you know?
Yes. That's how you know when it's good.
Yeah,
That's how you know when
yeah.
you really enjoyed it.
I think I
When
kind
you're
of,
like, you know what, I can watch this later on this week.
yeah, yeah. I think I kind of just missed the whole Sonic world, you know? And me and Julie, after watching the first two, I had her play Sonic Adventure 2 for a little bit, the first three
Oh, that's
missions.
so funny. That's so funny.
So that's been really cool. I think she likes it. She's a
Oh,
little. It took her a while to beat the first boss. She was getting a little frustrated because of the Sonic, like, I guess, homing attack wasn't working properly, or she,
oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, she liked it, and so that's been really fun to
Wow.
share that with her and watch those movies. And uh, I think she liked the second one a lot better too than the first. I loved like this. They're like, "You'll never take my power," and Knuckles is like, "What makes you think I want your power?"
Yeah.
Bah!
Yeah, that was such a good scene.
Yeah.
That was a good scene.
Oh
Oh,
man.
you know what, Tim? I mean, honestly, with Sonic 1 and 2, I really enjoyed them. I think the only part that was a little, I don't know, I feel like it was a little too much for me personally. And I don't know the actress name, but I think this is the woman that was getting married or something.
Oh
I just felt
yeah.
like it was a little
She
too
was a
much for me.
character.
Oh, okay, so you're in agreement.
Well,
It
in
was
the
just,
first one, she was like divorce, and
well, yeah,
the whole time I'm like,
yeah.
where is your husband? Where is the father of this child? Like, are we? You're gonna like advocate for another broken home? Like,
Well, yeah, and you know what? And possibly there could have been some critics that jumped on that and addressed that. So now we had her in her wedding. But I just
but
thought it was just a little too much, in my opinion. It was just that was the only
that side
complaint I would
story,
probably have.
yeah,
yeah, it was a little too much, and I felt like it would have been okay if, like, brief, but it just seemed like at one point in the second half of the movie, it just was dominating a little too much at one
I
point.
thought so
You
too.
know,
I'm really
yeah, I
glad
was
it
like,
ended up where it ended up, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And it's like,
yeah,
oh,
I'm with you.
the Chaos Emerald was hidden in an island close to Hawaii, so it's just convenient that they
Correct.
had a
Yeah,
plot device to go there and they could see
yeah,
it,
yeah,
so they could run to it.
yeah.
I think it gets into the problem of the Godzilla movies where they take too
Oh,
much time with the human
with the
storyline because
humans,
there
right?
has to be a human storyline when we just want to
Yeah,
see monsters fighting, you know?
it's the same thing with the Transformers to some extent.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, that's a good
like
point.
okay, like okay, Mark Wahlberg and Tyrese, like nice to
Mocky
see you guys. But
Mock.
where's Optimus Prime? Where's Optimus Prime? You know?
We're over here watching like Shia LaBeouf make out with Megan Fox, and all I want to see is "I'll take you all on."
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny because it's almost like I don't know. It's almost like I know why they want to implement these human characters. Of course, they want to have human characters. Yeah, I get that, but it almost seems like I'm always just waiting for, hey, get back to Godzilla.
Yeah,
Hey, get back to the Transformers. Hey, get back to Sonic.
yeah.
Get back to them. You know, like yeah, and, and Eggman. I just feel like Jim Carrey is just, I know that he's made some type of, I don't know. He's walking away from acting. Supposedly, I don't know if you know
Yeah,
that,
I've
but
heard.
after the Will Smith slap, actually, that's when he just kind of he just felt like he was just done. He just had an issue with the fact that this happened, and then everyone's applauding Will the same night, getting an award, and he just felt like, okay, he just felt like, okay, there's something wrong with us.
The depravity of
Uh,
Hollywood and culture. Imagine having a
yeah,
problem with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's crazy. What?
yeah, yeah. But I have to say, um, because he noticed it, I have to say, my respect for that man went so far, even more. It was just reinforced because I already loved what I was seeing with his character, and I could see like he was on his own journey. But he just and at one point I thought he wasn't going to be funny anymore because he was coming out with a lot of more serious films. But when I seen Eggman in the first movie, I said, "Oh, this guy, he has it. He's gonna always have this.
Oh
No
yeah.
matter how old, he's always gonna have this." And then the second movie, he just did it even like better. And I'm just like, goodness, I just love this character. I mean, like, so I'm just imagining, like, we they already set it up for another film. So I'm just thinking, like, how can I'm just hoping that somehow he's convinced to just return it, at least to
I
complete the
think he's gonna
trilogy.
finish Eggman. He has to. No one
Yeah,
else can be
yeah,
Eggman.
yeah, exactly. I agree. I agree.
Um,
Yeah,
it was just
yeah,
so well written, and all his parts
right.
in the second one especially were just really really well done. And what I will
Hmm.
say, my one like solid criticism that I will take to the grave, like I will die on this hill. These Sonic
Hmm.
movies are not perfect. Like, well, not there's other things that are not going to be perfect, but they're not as good as they could be because of this. And it's because there is no Crush 40 soundtrack in these movies, James. There is no Crush 40 songs in these movies. There's no Live and Learn. There's no Escape from the City. There's nothing. And I took that personally. I did. Because Sonic has become synonymous with some of these songs. When he's been seen on stage or events or anything, like these songs will play. They are popular. And
Yeah.
it felt to me like a sin. It felt like Sonic, a representation of Sonic without some type of Crush 40 song with it. Even Shadow the Hedgehog, what's it called? Can't I forget what the song is called, but you know the song from Sonic the Hedgehog.
You have them on your playlist, right? Didn't you tell
Yes,
me
yes, I work out to these
you have these
songs.
songs?
Um,
Yeah, you have these.
like I can
Yeah.
sing the chorus for you, but I'm not going to do that right now. um, I'll remember it at some point. But so the Crush 40 is synonymous with the Sonic brand. And so to see a
Okay.
representation of Sonic without Crush 40 also there in some manner, right, hurts. It is almost like seeing Iron Man without AC/DC. You know,
Oh yeah,
at
yeah.
a certain
I see.
point they go together. That because they blended so well, right? That's what we think of. And if we don't
Yeah,
see an AC/DC song, like Iron Man 3 didn't have an AC/DC song at the end or anything, it's unfortunate. The Sonic movies don't have a Crush 40 songs in any of them. It sucks.
mm,
I gotta say,
mm,
the rap songs they put at the end, they're all right. I get the decision to go that route. You got to make it popular, mainstream. That's kind of
yeah, yeah.
what it's all about. That's fine. Make your money. As long as you're making a good Sonic movie, I'll deal with this in my chest. But just know you get an entire grade rating lowered because there is not one Crush 40 song in these movies anywhere to be seen.
My gosh, I'm gonna be looking into this now because I didn't know that was a thing. But now I'm gonna. It's funny because with Iron Man, I get that. Like there's just an understanding that there's a certain track we're expecting or a track from this specific group. Yeah, I get it. So yeah, that's funny. That's so funny. I didn't. Yeah, I need to look into this now.
It's
Wow.
just I was disappointed. But again, they handle the character with a lot of love. They faithfully
Agreed.
represent it. Even the end credits, the credits animations, and going through all the game's styles, and showing Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails in different
I love that. I love
animation
that.
styles. I loved that part.
Yeah, it's like there's this. I don't know. Like you can see like yes, they're making a movie. Yes, it was kind of like designed to accommodate different audiences. But I love when there's a I don't know what do you call it when you're just acknowledging the fans, like you're giving
Fan
them
service,
things.
yeah. Typically, it's called fan
There you
service.
go.
It means something else in other
There you go.
contexts, but in
Yeah,
most
yeah, yeah.
contexts,
Okay.
it's yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, yeah. But I feel like I appreciate that from projects like this, that it's like, hey, we're not going to go too far off the deep end, and do our own thing. Let's acknowledge the fans. Like, hey, they're going to know this, and
Yeah.
they're going to recognize this, or So
There
yeah,
is
but
a
I
fine line because I think with fan service it can go into what we talked about before, which degrades from a movie when you're just throwing nostalgia in there for the sake of nostalgia. Oh, you remember this? The movie's good because I put this thing in here that you remember. You know,
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
fine
yeah.
balancing line between like a respectful homage and a hidden Easter egg that people will notice or not, and like blatant like oh this like you remember all these from your childhood like yeah this movie's good because we have them you know uh
That's so funny you say that because I believe not a lot of fans agreed with enjoying like the last Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. It came out last year, and it was kind of like rebooting the series and things like that in regards to the movies, and it was just saturated with everything that you would expect from like the Resident Evil 2, and I know you probably haven't seen it, right? You
raccoon
probably
like
haven't seen it.
oh
Welcome to
the
Raccoon
movie
City.
yeah okay I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah, the
see
movie.
it
Yeah.
yeah but we talked about it a little
Okay,
bit.
okay, but yeah, yeah, but they did a really good job with like accommodating um, anybody that would recognize playing the games. Like they did a really good job with giving us a lot of what we're familiar with. But I almost feel like what you're talking about, like they kind of went in that direction. They accommodated us a little
Yeah,
too much, where it kind of ruined what the film could have been because I didn't need it to be exactly like, but it seems like the director was going towards that, like, hey, I want to make sure that this is gonna be, and it was at the point where it was like, it was too much like trying to accommodate the game,
it's a
too much,
balancing
and it just
act,
ruined.
you have some liberty, you're making a new product, but if you're not keeping to the same core message, the same core values of the superhero, of the story, of the game, whatever it is, you're missing the point. You can go too
Correct.
far and you can stay too close on the tracks because there's no need to repeat what's been said completely, except
Mhm.
for the point of like revamping it and getting it in front of new audiences. But um, yeah, it's definitely a balancing act, and even for me, like I said, I appreciate when it's faithful representation, you know. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Okay,
that
so you like Sonic. I'm glad to hear
it
that.
was
I'm
good,
glad
and
to hear
then
that.
at the end you see him go Super Saiyan. You see Sonic
Oh,
get the
Super
emeralds, and like
Sonic. Oh, that was just a perfect ending. Perfect.
I mean, with some
Oh,
Crush 40, it would have been perfect. But go on. Um, because at the end of Sonic Adventure 2, it crescendos with both Sonic and Shadow being, going Super Saiyan. They're fighting in
yes,
space.
that
They're
was such
saving
an
the
amazing.
Earth,
Yeah,
and the
it's so funny
soundtrack.
because yeah, what's so funny is I think out of like all of the Sonic games, that was the scene that or the last fight or mission or boss fight that really stood out to me the most is here you are fighting against this other hedgehog, and then later on you play his role as well. You get to see what he was, dealing with, and it almost seems like a very similar Knuckles Eggman situation. Eggman somehow convinces Shadow, "Hey, I'm the good guy. I'll help you. Sonic's bad." You know, and same situation, and then Shadow realizes, "Oh, Eggman's actually the bad guy." But I love how the Chaos Emerald, he was, Shadow had access to becoming, Super Saiyan, Super, Shadow as well, and I just love how they switched off during this fight. Like I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I just, it was just. I remember like the first time this happened, I was like, "What? They're flying in space, destroying this thing, alternating, and I mean, now it's up to you, Shadow." And it's like you go to Shadow, and
Yeah.
and
Let me
Shadow,
show you
it's
my
like,
real power. He just goes off.
Oh, I was just like, "Oh, this is just." I'm about to like. This is just. It was so overwhelming. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
beautiful. Like they understood. We have to work together to do
Yeah.
this. We have to work together, and I just loved it. I loved it.
And speaking of Shadow, that I'm telling you, James, that end credit scene, I stood up from my chair. I was literally yelling like a child. I was like, yes, yeah. I haven't been that excited for like a character reveal in a movie, and I don't know how long. Like maybe like I got that reaction when
Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Okay, so when Matt Murdock came up, I was like, oh yeah, like cool. When the Spider-Man stuff, like it was alluded to, so it was kind of expected for me. I would say like last time I was that excited, it wasn't a character reveal, but it was probably Endgame when Cap
I was
picked up
gonna
the
say
hammer.
Endgame, yeah. I was gonna say.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that was
I just
probably
thought I was gonna say Endgame just hit us with so many things, but yeah, that was one of the.
yeah, because I can't
That's so
remember the
funny.
last time.
It's hilarious.
Maybe
You would
Civil
think it'd
War
be
with
like
the
a
first Spider-Man
Marvel.
sighting, but
That's so funny. Because I would expect a response like that from like a Marvel film from you. And I just love how I love that it came from a Sonic film. I love that, and for me too. When I see Shadow, I'm like, oh, there's gonna be a third one. There's gonna be a third one for
yeah,
sure. That
yeah. I was
yeah,
literally like,
and I,
Julie was looking at me like I was crazy. I was like
oh, I
yelling,
could
like making a
imagine.
bunch
I
of
could imagine.
noise. Um,
I'm just thinking about the kids and the other people. Like, what's wrong with this guy?
um, oh man, it was
That's awesome. Oh
like
man.
I was surprised I felt that way, but I was, I was just like, there he is. Yeah, like I feel like I would have felt this way if they had Green Lantern in the Justice League movie. If
Well, yeah,
they,
yeah, yeah.
if certain conditions were met and what I like, so it's something out of the Sonic movie I really wanted, expected, and I got it,
Okay.
and I was like,
Yeah.
"Gah." like, and I think Marvel did that for me for a little bit, but it's just kind of saturated at this point. And there's so much hurt too, like we talked about the abuse.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Yeah.
um,
Funny.
I just
Yeah.
think like
That
yeah, it's
shadow
been a while
thing.
since I've engaged with the Sonic intellectual property, like that whole like universe, and it's just like no, I know this stuff. I loved this stuff as a kid. It's awesome, and they're telling it well. This is how the characters
Yeah,
act. This is how they engage.
that's
This is the
right.
story.
You,
Um,
you, you know, what's really funny, Tim, and maybe it's good for me to just share this with our audience as well. Disney Plus recently, actually made a Chip and Dale film, so it went straight to Disney Plus, and it's like CGI characters, and it really kind of reminded me of a Who Framed Roger Rabbit type of universe. It gave you like cartoon characters in the same universe or same world as like just human beings like you and I, and they all cohabitate together. So it's like just a regular.
like Looney
But
Tunes back in action.
something like that, yeah, something like that. But one of the most funniest parts about this entire film, and one of the reasons why I was motivated to actually look at the film, and it wasn't as interesting as I would have liked, but it was nice for a nostalgia type of thing. I used to watch, Rescue Rangers, but the funniest thing to me was some of the trailers alluded to Ugly Sonic, and I kept thinking, what the heck is the Ugly Sonic? And you find out that there's like this area in the film where there's a lot of, there's this setup where it's almost like I don't know, I'm gonna say like Comic-Con type of deal, and there's all these different people, behind their booths, and people visit them, and there's a booth for Ugly Sonic. And you look, and it's the Sonic that we got before in the trailer, before everyone
Oh
voiced
my
they won him.
goodness.
Yeah, they had a completely different actor, but it was the same guy, and it was so funny because throughout the film, that was his full name, Ugly Sonic. Yeah, yeah. It was so funny because they alluded to people didn't like how his look and how his career is not really thriving and things like. It was just so funny to me. So that's the new Chippendale film, Disney Plus, but it was just so funny, and I just felt like, wow, Sonic just came out, part two is still fresh on a lot of our minds. Like I'm already thinking about when does it come out on Blu-ray DVD, just so I can own it as well. I just want to own it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I just thought it was so funny how Ugly Sonic was in there, and it's basically the same look from the Sonic trailers and stuff before everyone voiced that they didn't really want that Sonic. So
Yeah,
they
such a
cleaned
good
them up.
kids movie too. Like it
Mhm.
really was just like a great
Yeah,
film that I'll love to show my kids someday.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same. I was like, man, it's so balanced. Like it doesn't go too far off in anything, and I love how I forgot the actor's name, the main guy. How he has this relationship with Sonic like a father. Like I didn't realize they were
Yeah,
gonna
they
go in
they
that
went like a
direction.
really family route with it, you know?
No, I was okay. I dig this, and I really thought that part two really reinforced that, and
Yeah.
all the positive messages. Yeah, I was man, I would love for my child to hear this as well, and yeah, it was just so nice. It was really really nice, really great experience. So yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, man. That yeah, very well done,
Yeah,
definitely.
really looking forward to the 3 with Shadow. That's going to be awesome.
Oh,
Maybe we'll
oh,
get Eggman
absolutely.
trying to blow up the moon, something like that.
I'm just curious who would they select for, Shadow's voice because I'm hearing Keanu Reeves. I don't know, but they would have to
That's
have
not
somebody.
bad.
Yeah, it's not right. He has the voice. He could do it. He could do it. But I'm just so curious who's going to be Shadow because at this point they're going to have to add everybody in the film. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to be
yeah. Hmm.
okay. Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what else I did?
fascinating.
I did think it was funny when Eggman was in his machine. It played like Metallica.
Oh,
Like when that scene was coming out, I was expecting some music, and again with the music, I wish like whatever. But it was really funny what they did. That it put they put in some Metallica. That was a funny scene. I appreciated it. Um, but when it was Eggman, I was thinking in my head the song from the boss fight in Sonic Adventure 2 when he's fighting like the sand pyramid monster, and it's like
yeah, yeah.
Eggman's theme song that
Oh, yeah,
plays.
yeah, yeah.
So I was just thinking about that. But obviously they can't just like do the same song. But it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, of course.
um,
Oh, that's funny.
nah, it was just good, man.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing a good job with Sonic. They're not messing him up
Much
or
better
anything.
than Doctor Strange.
I
Much
agreed,
better.
agreed, agreed,
Like
agreed,
no question
agreed.
for me. Like that was like
Yeah.
one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. You know?
Yes, yes, I agree. I agree. Yeah, it's interesting how um, I always know I feel fulfilled when I leave the film and I feel kind of inspired. Like, wow, that was really
Yeah.
good. Like, and I even thought about actually seeing Sonic a second time. And one of my friends actually, she's the one who told me to go see it because it came out like, a certain weekend, and I thought to myself, oh, I'll probably go see it next week. I'm not going to rush. Part one was pretty good, but, I'll take my time. But she called me one day and said, no, James, you got to see this movie immediately. She said, I already seen it. And I bought my tickets for another day, the next day to see it and bring my son. And I'm like, goodness. I was like, oh, yeah, I got to check this out. And yeah, when I seen that in Supersonic, and I was like, oh yeah, they're taking it to the next level, and then they're doing it correctly. I'm like, and I'm sure a lot of us we wouldn't mind if they went past, three, you know, just keep going,
I don't
keep
know. I
going.
don't know much canon after that. I know they get like into weird werewolf stuff and how. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They go into a lot of different directions. There's Silver the Hedgehog. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to
Well, what
explore.
I was
They
gonna
do it correctly.
what I was gonna say is like the next movie has to be the Shadow the Hedgehog video game poster where he's just holding a Glock, and if it's not that, I don't want it. They're not gonna do it right.
Oh yeah. No, I don't see the Glock happening, in today's political.
Nowadays, never.
No, no, we're not getting that for sure. Definitely not. But I could see Shadow having a his own movie, and then Sonic at the end coming in. Like I don't know, like a last scene. Like I can see that. I can see Shadow having his stuff and Sonic having his. I can definitely see that for sure.
Oh man. Yeah, so that
Yeah,
movie was fantastic, and I do want to talk about this because it's going to change some rankings, now that I've seen these films, and so let's dive into Morbius, James.
Morpheus.
Because I've seen memes, I've seen people talk about it, I've heard it's garbage, I've heard it's a waste of space, it's not necessary, I've
Yeah.
heard all sorts of
Well,
things. I haven't looked up the actual like Rotten Tomato scores or anything.
what's the verdict, sir? What's the verdict?
I haven't looked it up, but I think it's like bad. But me,
Yeah,
James.
that's what I want to know. I want to know, what do you think, Tim Dolan? What do you specifically think about Dr. Michael Morbius?
It's Morbin time, James. It's time to morb. I really liked it. Okay, maybe not really. I don't know. I'm trying to like justify myself. Like I have to compare it to all
Better
these
than
critics, but I
Dr.
think I
Strange?
just liked it. You know,
Me too. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
like I thought it was solid. I thought it was concise. It wasn't too long. It was like it told
got
its
to the
story.
point.
There were some dumb parts.
Yeah, yeah.
There were some weird edits, but
Agreed.
other than that, I mean, I thought it was a pretty decent story. I thought it was like
I enjoyed it.
I thought it did well for what it was trying to do.
Yeah. I felt like I came into the theater knowing that I'm not here to watch X-Men or Spider-Man. I'm here to watch something else.
Yeah.
So that helped me, and I was like, okay, well, that makes sense.
That's what
The
Julie
tone
was
is-
saying. That like maybe because we came into this with such low expectations that it was like we thought it was pretty dang good.
Okay. Oh,
And then same thing with Doctor
interesting.
Strange. We came in with such high expectations, we thought that was really bad.
Well, that makes sense. That
So
makes
I'll never
sense.
know if like just baseline, well, no, I do know. Objectively, Doctor Strange is not a good Doctor Strange 2.
Agreed.
Objectively, I can say that. I think even
Yeah.
without expectations, I could see that.
Yes.
What I will say, and then objectively, like even without, I don't think hearing all the bad stuff people said about Morbius would take away too much, like too much of what I saw. I think it
agree.
speaks to the movie's efficacy that I came in with a bad mindset and it turned me around. It gave me kind of what I wanted. Didn't give me everything. I heard complaints, that it takes like an R-rated subject matter and like pacifies it, So yeah, I think, maybe an R rating take on it would have been interesting to watch and to see, So that's something they could have, they might have lost out on for the sake of money or for the sake of making it fine for everybody. I can see that argument. The movie also, like, I was upset about this. People talk about Mary Sue's or people that just get their powers and they're all ultimate powerful no matter what, right?
Yeah.
So there are 2 points in the movie for that for me where with like 5 minutes of discerning thought, he immediately discovers the depths and width of echolocation. Like,
oh yeah.
you know what I'm
he
saying?
Understood it like that. Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's a scientist, he's brilliant, whatever. It took Daredevil his whole life to be able to like listen to the city like he does in instance. Like after 5 minutes of thinking about it, he can just do it
Yeah.
and focus like throughout the whole city. You know?
Yeah.
And that for me was a little insulting. Daredevil was blind.
Only thing I'm thinking about is Morbius obviously was a doctor. Maybe he had an analytical mind. Because he immediately went into, okay, I need to find out what my limits are. I need to and he was timing things. So I feel like I don't
It's
know.
not
I
completely
enjoyed
out
it.
there. There is a justification, and
Okay.
obviously for the screen time, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, you got.
Giving them those graces, I'm not abhorrent of the movie because of this, but it still
Okay.
did upset me how rapidly it happened, considering Daredevil trained since a kid in learning all this
Yeah.
stuff, and it takes him a long time to be able to get that depth of it. You know, like I
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
like listening in and honing a certain voice in another room or whatever from the other noise, but throughout the whole city to track a heartbeat, like that is that's crazy. That's wild. Um,
It is. It is. It is. That's extreme. That's
so
extreme.
there was that, and the other time this came up for me was the scene in the subway where the villain is chasing him down. They're fighting, and he's about to escape. Morbius is, and the subway train is coming. He's listening to it, and it's weird. It doesn't show him thinking about it. Well, it just shows him like it paces back from him to the enemy to the subway like a couple times, and he's just
Okay.
looking and thinking about it and seeing the sounds, you know. Yeah, and then he just decides I'm gonna fly, and then he does it, and he just flies in front of the
Like,
train.
so do you remember the first time when he was on the building and he seen or whatever, I don't know, what was that, wind, sound, but he seen something and he didn't understand it. But I think, this is just, maybe this is me trying to, defend him, but I feel like that first time, I don't know if you remember this, but the officers was had him trapped on the building, and
Yes, I remember
and
that.
so he noticed, and like, oh, hey, what is this? Why, what's going on? So I feel like he
Why are
caught
things
on
like
by that
this?
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah, and a lot of these films, it's these extreme moments when they need to get away or they need to use an ability where it's like, okay, I see something here, and I'm gonna just, So I don't know. To me, I enjoyed that part. I'll be honest. I enjoyed like, oh, he figured out what it is, um, but yeah, it was interesting because I was trying to figure out why was he able to do that with the subway? Was that I don't get it. Was that
yeah. It was.
subway somehow?
Is it off the current, or can he just fly? You know,
That's what I was trying to figure out. That's what I'm still kind of.
and it's a little confusing. And that shot I was talking about editing earlier. That shot on the rooftop is what really confused me a lot. You know,
Okay.
because it made an implication that that cop has some type of ability to climb 12, 20 flights of stairs almost instantaneously. That it never really resolved.
That's true. I'm just noticing that. That's
Yeah,
true.
he
And he
tells
wasn't
the
even
other
like,
guy that's gonna follow him, "Oh, I'll meet you. Do something else." And then he catches up with Morbius instantly.
that's true. When Morbius climbed.
Yeah,
Oh, you're right.
yeah. So there's that, right? And that's fine. Set up whatever you want to set up, sure. Um, but then Morbius was on the roof and all this stuff was happening, and he didn't try and fly. He didn't do anything, and then I guess he's just in cuffs in a
Yeah.
car and in the station. You know, it was such a quick, just cut off edit. Um,
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
it
I will
felt
say that.
weird.
Yeah, one thing I do like about the Morbius character is he out. Ever since like that first encounter when he drank blood, he attacked the guys on the ship, submarine, wherever that thing was. But I do remember after that, from there, he said, okay, like, I'm not going to be drinking blood. And I really
Yeah,
love that he had a conscience. He had a conscience with this. And so, yeah, he could have probably went through the officers, the detectives. But I actually like the fact that he submitted himself to them and he allowed them to actually take him in. And I don't know if he was just weak, and he was getting weak and that artificial blood wasn't doing it. I don't know. But I know there was something and I don't want to get myself in too much trouble saying this, but like that was one of the reasons why I was drawn into the Twilight thing as well. I was challenged one time to watch it, and I remember understanding the character of Edward. He was almost like instead of going after human beings, he was going after animals instead, and he wasn't as strong as he could have been because it's not like human blood and stuff like that, but. I don't know. It was something I appreciated about Morbius is that he was restraining himself, and you could see he was struggling. You could see it wasn't,
yeah.
even the moment when he was in his lab and his, partner, I don't know, she cut herself, and he was like so tempted. Like I like that. I like that he's like, no, no, this is somebody I care about. And I enjoyed that. Yeah,
It's good. Like there is a struggle there, and they can focus on that, and that's character development and showing, an actual struggle, and there's more to them than just their identity, you know.
yeah, yeah. But I agree with the quick cut. It seemed like, yeah, he was just automatically sort of like right in their custody and stuff like that, and yeah, they're kind of speeding through certain scenes, you know.
So there was all that, and then the scene at the end seemed like a very mishap shaped like excuse to
Now,
throw
which
them
part of
together.
the
At the end credit scene with
oh
Vulture,
oh
Sinister Six, they're trying to set that
I
up,
was
I
so
think.
yeah. Oh yeah, they're still working on that apparently. Yeah, I thought they gave up to be honest, and I was so confused because I felt like, huh? How did that happen? Like I almost feel like, you know, I don't know. It definitely seemed like it was some type of, I don't know, desperate attempt to like, okay, we're gonna make this happen, and we're gonna make this character somehow flop into this universe, even though there is no other history of that happening with, from a backwards perspective. And so, yeah, I was like, okay, and then he's just, Michael Keaton's character, the Vulture, is automatically figuring out, oh, hey, well, let me just start, collecting guys, let me just, it's like, oh, okay.
It seemed like a very weird excuse to get them to team up. But that
Oh,
aside,
absolutely.
the movie itself, I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it even. I thought, yeah, cool vampire story.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad, Tim, that you really enjoyed the film because I feel like, and this is just talking about films overall. I just feel like there's a lot of us, when it comes to Star Wars, when it comes to superhero related stuff, when it comes to movies in general. I think there's a lot of us that we're starting to get a little too particular and a little too harsh when it comes to our critiques on these films sometime. I'm not saying every film, because I think some films we do need to say, hey, we don't want Sonic looking like that, and it's fixed. But I don't know. I think sometimes a lot of us are just way too harsh on these teams that are putting these films together. And sometimes we have a nice film, but I don't know. It's just, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that they don't come up with their own critiques. They just kind of hear what other people say, and they just kind of, oh yeah, well I support this, and I think this, and so I'm really glad that you enjoyed it because, in my opinion, I enjoyed Morbius for what it is. When it's available, I'm gonna buy it personally,
Yeah, yeah, it's
to
not
make
a,
that
yeah.
collection. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to them telling his story, whether he's on a team with the Sinister Six or it's another a Spider-Man encounter, and whatever. Did you pick up on the Venom reference? When they
Yeah,
said
yeah,
San Francisco, and
when he said it, yeah.
yeah,
It was in the trailer
yeah, I
too.
thought that was, yeah. So I thought that was cool. It's letting us know that okay, this, and I guess I don't know what I want to call it, a Sony universe or whatever, Sony Spider-Man universe, but I'm wondering which Spider-Man do they have already in their world, or do they not have
It might be an excuse to get Andrew Garfield back in
possibly.
because
I was
they've
thinking
talked
about that
about
too.
that.
I
Um,
was thinking about
yeah, so maybe that's the
yeah,
universe that they're in. I'm not sure.
yeah. Wow,
Because it's
very
interesting,
interesting.
they're trying to build a universe on these characters that wouldn't exist without Spider-Man. You know?
Yeah. I do know that Sony has been wanting to do this for a very long time. For those who don't know, I know once upon a time Marvel was going through some financial situations, so they sold their X-Men related properties to Fox and Fox Studios, and then they sold all their Spider-Man characters and anyone related to the Spider-Man universe to Sony. So, Fox eventually was bought out by Disney, Marvel. So they kind of like, essentially Marvel has their X-Men universe characters back. But when it comes to Sony, Sony knows that they have like they have a cow, a cow that they can milk for the rest of their lives. So they're not letting Spider-Man go, but they're willing to work with Marvel to let them borrow and use, and but yeah, so which is wise. But they've been wanting to actually create their Spider-Man universe with Silver Sable and all these other characters, Venom. So they already started with Venom. They did Morbius. So they've been wanting to do this for some time now.
Well, that's what's weird about, like, the Venom movies and everything, and Sony trying to do their own thing. Because, like, I thought I appreciated the Venom movies, but
Okay,
I wouldn't say. I think I liked
it's not.
Morbius more than both of them. Maybe I liked the first
I I
Venom.
I actually would agree with you because in my opinion, and I don't want to get in trouble with anybody, But I just felt like both the Venom movies were too goofy to me.
A little
They were
bit.
just too goofy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just felt like the dialogue with Venom, and then part two, like, just did too much of that for me. It was too much of the back and forth, and Venom getting emotional, and just I just felt like it was just too much for me. It was too much, too much. And I just felt like the only reason why I even tolerated part two is I just want to see Venom and Carnage fight.
Yeah.
I wanted to see them fight, and even the way that that was handled, I kept thinking, well, okay, now you don't even have like an opportunity to bring them back, and it's like, come on. But I don't know. I just it was an interesting direction, but yeah, Venom. I don't know. I enjoy them if they came. Tom Hardy, if everything he's going to be related and involved in regarding Venom, I'm always going to watch it. But yeah, I'm not particularly a fan of Venom that we have. I'm going to always watch whatever. I'm going to support him, but I just feel like, yeah,
I
they're
like
just making
the
it too.
I like the design. I like the voice for the most part. I feel like it changed, but
Okay.
I know it probably didn't. But I like some because that is like in some of the comics, like when you're telling Venom's story by himself, when he's not just a villain of Spider-Man, when he's not just like a scary menace, there is some of that
Yeah.
comedic relief or a little bit, and but it also gets more serious. There's serious
True.
subject matter with the dual personality, and they, you know,
Absolutely.
Eddie trying to or whoever the symbiote is on at that point, trying to block them out with pills or whatever, right? And they
Yeah.
address that a little
Yeah.
bit in the movie, but yeah, I definitely there's a system, a formula they're trying to emulate, right, with the amount of comedy and stuff, and I definitely thought some of the scenes in Venom 2 were a bit much, but yeah, I liked those films. I liked the way they presented him. I just think both of them weren't what I wanted, right? And for this
I'm
film,
with you on that.
with my
Yeah.
initial like, I didn't know anything about Morbius. I'm like, yeah, I want to learn about Morbius. I want to learn about the vampire stuff, and give me an avenue for Blade. Give me an avenue for all this other stuff, right? And I feel like for the most part, I got what I wanted out of Morbius. I learned the origin story. I don't know how accurate it is. I know he's mainly a villain, and I don't know if he was always this anti-hero that struggled with these moral struggles. But I like what we have, you know.
You know what I mean? Yeah, just sharing it from from it pretty much Morbius is very much like how Venom was written. He started out as only bad, he was vicious, and then over time they kind of started giving him a conscience, and it became more of an anti-hero sort of. So, but I actually like the Morbius that we have. I feel like that was a great story, great foundation, and I'm looking forward to seeing. Um, Jared Leto's Morbius interact with these other characters, whoever it is, whether it's
Yeah,
Spider-Man or yeah, I want to see him interact with people. That's what I want to see. Other
it's
people with abilities.
it's just interesting because so many people were like, like just saying the movie was garbage or whatever, and
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
was worried about it, but no, I like it. I don't know. It just seemed fine to me. It seemed
Yeah,
pretty,
yeah. Yeah, I love the relationship he had with his buddy, and his buddy
yeah,
was like infected with the thing, but went a different route. Like I enjoy those stories a lot especially when you have two people that they have very similar lives, but one person, seems to have a conscience, so they're like the good guy basically, and the other one's like, well, we have abilities, we can do whatever we want, we're gods, we don't have any limits anymore, like let's just enjoy, let's and yeah, so I love stories like that, and I love the discussions with, and it almost reminded me of the Magneto professor, kind of like, hey, we have we have we have a responsibility to do something with this, and we have to be mindful. We can't like start attacking people, and the other person's like, well, no, we've been the victims our own life. Like we had medical issues. No, we're gonna enjoy this. We're gonna enjoy this.
yeah.
You know, yeah. So I loved the dialogue with that, but yeah, it was very interesting. Morbius just using a lot of his abilities and learning, especially at the end, the ability he used, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, summoning these bats, and okay,
Yeah, the bats thing was like a little extra for
yeah,
me, a
yeah,
little
yeah. I was like,
weird. And it's like, does the other guy not have the bat powers? And then you won the fight by just suffocating him with bats, and
yeah,
then like you distracted him enough to get that vial in
yeah,
him,
yeah, yeah. I don't even know entirely
which
what I just.
a review
Mhm.
I watched. This guy, the Critical Drinker on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen his stuff, but he's pretty funny. Um,
Oh, okay.
but he was saying that when you have a fight with two powerful beings that can't get damaged or can't hurt each other, there's no stakes and there's no realistic drama. They can punch each other back and forth all day, but it doesn't mean anything. You know. Um,
Mm.
so that kind of pointed out, yeah, like at the end when that was kind of, I mean, I guess thematically, right? It was fine.
Oh,
It was doing their thing,
yeah.
like, but I don't know, it was probably a little cheap, and the whole time everyone was looking down the drain, and all the bats came out, and like, Batman, what? um, and I could say the same thing for the first Venom movie. Like, I was just a little disappointed. It was just too, you know, yeah, that final fight scene in Venom was weird.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what happened in the first movie.
It was him and like
What?
versus Apex or whoever, another symbiote
Oh, yeah.
that was more powerful, but they still won in the end.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
they got out
Uh,
of their suits and were fighting, fist fighting as dudes,
yeah,
and
that
then
was,
got it
and the
back.
rocket. Yeah, that's right. The rocket and everything.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, that was interesting. That's
Um,
so funny. Okay, I'm glad you liked Morbius. I
I
really
did, and
I really liked it. I love that.
I will defend. And it was weird because you were being very, holding your cards to your chest about it. You said that you didn't hate it, but I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I,
yeah.
I, I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Like, I didn't just
Oh,
think it was
absolutely.
like a decent man movie. Like, it was like I got, if I saw it just normal, like I liked it. Like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, yeah.
There were some, like I said, some dumb
Okay,
things that I talked about, but yeah, I thought it was good, and
okay. I'm glad to hear that. Okay,
I
okay.
think
That's good.
I think it was better than Doctor Strange.
I would agree with you now. Now we might actually get some comments on this one.
No, I mean I'll take that argument all day, dude. Like, what was Doctor Strange? What was it like? How was it? I,
No, I'm actually with you on that. I feel like walking out of Morbius, I was like, oh, okay, all right, Morbius, and Doctor Strange, I was like, okay.
I have
Uh,
no desire to watch Doctor Strange again. I have.
I'm with you on that. I'm actually with you on that.
I, I I might be thinking about Sonic 2 too much. I don't know if I have a strong desire to see Morbius again right away. But I'd show it to a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like for Doctor Strange, the only way I would watch it is if I was going through all the Marvel movies
All of them.
and
Yeah,
then
that's exactly.
then I would
Yeah.
I would yeah. But as of right now, yeah, there's no need to really. I don't feel like there's nothing really to revisit, to be honest with you.
Now, what about? So we talked about these rankings, the past five. Um, No Way Home, obviously, I think on top out of all of them. You know.
Definitely.
So okay, before we rank, so No Way Home, we got Batman, we got Morbius, Sonic 2, and Doctor Strange. Those are our last five, right? So I think we can agree, No Way Home on top.
Definitely.
Okay. What's the next? Okay, can we agree Doctor Strange on bottom?
I would say
Might be a
Doctor
little
Strange would definitely.
controversial, but
I think Doctor Strange would be at the bottom.
okay.
I think so.
Because I think
I
when we
think
did
so.
this last time, I think you said you liked Strange better than Morbius. That was the big question.
Uh, I don't know if I would say Strange over Morbius.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's.
I
So
I know. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so No Way Home, Doctor Strange. Where does Sonic 2, Batman, and Morbius fit?
For me personally, I really enjoyed the Batman a lot, and I mean a lot so much that today it came out on DVD and I picked it up a lot. That's so. Um, yeah. I'm actually planning on watching it sometime this week, so that'll be like the third time within the last 3 months. I'm gonna see the film. So I
Yeah.
enjoyed it a lot. For
Now
me, it would be next
it would be
on the
second
list.
after No Way Home.
Yeah, for me.
Okay.
Definitely.
So I do want to watch it again. We talked last time when we talked about this movie, like the tone, right? Even seeing a poster, listening to some of the music, it makes me want to be in that environment again. The tone that it sets. I still think it was too long, And that's something, when I watched Morbius and how concise it was, I really appreciated that. And I got what I wanted
Yeah,
out of
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And this one was a
yeah,
new take on Batman, and it was, unique, and there were good things about it. But there were also
yeah. But
things I didn't necessarily like about
you're
it.
like Robert Pattinson. I gotta go, man.
And it was like 3 hours long. Um, so when you're thinking about telling a story in like a time frame,
Okay.
I don't know. It's tough. I will say the argument of Morbius over Batman is tough for me. Probably a lot tougher than it is for you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it'd be tough for anybody. I mean, it is Batman.
I have to watch Batman again to give my definitive answer, but right now I will
Okay.
say, because like it's hard for me to say this because I liked Morbius so much and I really appreciate the timing of Morbius better than Batman.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
pending
Okay.
another watch of Batman, I will say probably Batman just skates by Morbius for me. Barely skates by Morbius, and that's just because I'm thinking about it again and like telling the unique story. Like my biggest criticism is that like with Morbius, it was quick, it was
Mm-hmm.
concise, but it was like the superhero movies of old, and I'm happy with
Okay.
that. You know, like Ghost Rider, like I don't want to say like Blade because it should have been more like Blade. It should have
Yeah.
been R
Yeah.
rate. Like R rating for that movie would have been nice to see, and like some wild stuff they could have done. But
Mm.
in the sense of the old movies where like I wanted to see a superhero film, wanted to learn about a character, had an interesting story, had a good moral conundrum, and I enjoyed
Mm.
it. I'd say that's what it was good for. But with Batman, it took it a step further. It's a character that we all know, that we all seen a bunch of times, and it tells a unique story, gives a different
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
It brings up the detective Batman. It brings up the like fight scene Batman that's like pretty technical with his scene, his
Yeah.
gadgetry. Um,
Yeah. There's a lot.
so for those reasons, I will give it to Batman. I wish it was shorter, and I wish other things. But I'll give it over to Batman because Morbius is more so just like a regular superhero film, like teaching you about,
Mm.
and Batman had a lot to do and a lot to accomplish to make a name for itself, and I think it did most of that pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I agree. I would agree. I would agree.
um, but I would say Sonic 2 is better than Batman.
Oh. Oh.
That's
Oh.
just
Oh.
me. That,
Sonic 2 was very good. It was very good. So I mean, it's funny because I remember before I seen Sonic, I seen that the movie was if I remember correctly, it was about an hour and 20 something minutes, and I was thinking that's not enough time for a good movie, right? But they did a very good job with the film. They got straight to the point. They told a very thorough story and let us meet Knuckles and Robotnik and Sonic and Tails, their relationship. Like it just I don't know, it worked so well.
the pacing
It
of that
worked
movie
so
was
well.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
Um,
right?
like I
Yeah.
literally like they had their last fight, Sonic and Knuckles. I'm like, they still haven't teamed up yet. How much is left in this movie? And I saw there was like
Yeah.
almost an hour left, I think, or like
Oh,
a
that's
good.
funny. That's
And I was like, oh, awesome, great. They're, yes,
yeah,
So I think it was
yeah,
really well paced.
yeah.
Like you said,
I
we can,
agree.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But
Okay.
that's me, and I think it's funny because I made these rankings with you before seeing all the films, and now it's like
Yeah, yeah. It's
changed.
different, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Actually, what really surprised me is you liking Morbius.
that is most
That.
surprising to me too. Out of all
Yeah,
five
yeah,
of
yeah.
these,
Didn't-
well,
Yeah, I didn't expect you to respond the way that you're responding.
I'm trying to
Which I
think.
think.
I'm trying to think. Am I more surprised about how much I liked Morbius, or how much I ended up disliking Doctor Strange? Like,
Ah.
what's more surprising from the past five films? Because it's like, from expectation. Um,
I mean, honestly, I feel like after No Way Home, I think most of us were thinking, man, Doctor Strange is going to give us like a part two
there was so much
of
hype.
yeah, yeah. I just thought, man, we're going to see the X-Men and we're going to see Wolverine finally and we're going to see, Magneto and we're going to see everybody. I just thought it was just going to, and I just thought we are just going to get a continuation of that. Like we had so many characters from the past in No Way Home. So I just thought, oh, well, it's naturally they're going to just keep this up. This is, this universe of what of madness. And I just thought, man, we're going to get more of that. And we didn't. We didn't.
Not at
We didn't.
all.
And then I'm thinking, man, who's going to be the enemy of the movie? I wonder, is it going to be Dormammu again?
They
Is it going to
showed
be,
Shumagorath.
Shumagorath? Yeah. And it was the Scarlet Witch. It
Could
was the
have been
Scarlet Witch.
Mephisto, damn it!
Scarlet Witch. And I kept thinking like, no, there's more to this. There's
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
There's more to this.
I'm
And
telling you, when the spirits
and it
came
was,
up and were like, Strange, you can't use someone else's dead body. That's not right. I'm like, let's get into it. Mephisto, let's go. They had an
yeah,
out. They had a moment where it could have been like the Sonic movie with Knuckles, where they could have
yeah.
teamed up with Scarlet Witch in the end and Johnny Blaze and taken on the devil.
No, you're right. You're right. No, but yeah, I kept thinking like, no, this isn't it, is it? No.
Yeah.
And as I was watching, I was like, no, this isn't it. No, and it's like all the way down to the end. I'm like, oh. So I don't know. I mean, to answer your question, at least for me, I think that there was a lot of expectation I had going into Doctor Strange, and it's like I don't know. I was like, and Sam Raimi, I really respect his work as a director, but I don't know. I was just thinking, I don't know. I was expecting so much more, so much
Yeah.
more, so much more.
I think it's interesting the way you put it. Like, this can't be it, right? So I think for every movie except No Way Home, with No Way Home, it was like solid in and solid out.
Oh,
Great film.
oh yeah, yes,
I
yes.
think the next one, which was Batman that came out, for me, it was like, is it over yet? Is this it yet? Um, and then with Sonic, it was like it happened, and then, like I said, I was like, oh, they just teamed up now. We have tons left in the movie. Awesome. That's great, right? We still have more. Give it to me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then when I saw Doctor Strange, it was like you said, you said, like, this can't be it, right? There has to be more of the
Yeah.
film, and there wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. When I left Sonic 2, I was debating on was I returning to the movie theater in the next few days. I enjoyed it that much.
Yeah, I'd say I'd watch it again, like tonight, tomorrow.
Right. And but yeah, with Doctor Strange, I was thinking, oh, okay, huh. And I don't know. I think, and I know there's a big debate regarding, now that we went past like the whole Thanos thing and we had like 10 years of just build up towards this, like maybe now that we don't have that, it's kind of like, oh, this, and then it's like they opened up a opportunity for Doctor Strange to have his own, another continuation. But I was thinking like, I don't know if I care. I don't know if I care.
Yeah.
I don't.
I
Yeah.
think this year is going to be really telling for the MCU because we talked about it, how this year is supposed to be all heat, all bangers after last year of depravity, with Eternals. And
Yeah.
I mean, Shang-Chi was okay, I guess. And then some other
Yeah.
things that weren't as great. But with No Way Home kicking you off, Spider-Man, multiverse and everything it was supposed to be, plus seeing another Doctor
Yeah.
Strange. Even take a multiverse out of it. Another Doctor Strange movie. That movie was so popular. It would have been great to see another great Doctor Strange movie. It just wasn't up to that, It didn't give us the
Yeah.
multiverse of madness we wanted, and it didn't give us the Doctor Strange we wanted, and we're left in the middle with like half of a Scarlet Witch going crazy story and half of
Yeah.
like America Chavez's origin,
Yeah. So true. Yeah.
So it's just kind of bleak, and then we can talk about it. The trailer for the new Thor movie, the new one. Have you seen it? The new trailer.
I have now.
At first look at Gore the God Butcher with Christian Bale.
It's so funny because as soon as I see him, I thought of you. I thought of I wonder what Tim thinks. The first thing I was like, I wonder does Tim approve of this?
Julie's excited to see it. I'll say that. This was the
Uh,
first trailer that got Julie excited to see it.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
For me, I think from our conversation, I'm still just a concerned parent, worried for my child that they're gonna abuse it.
Do you like what you're seeing a little bit so far, or not? Like just from the short scenes of Gore. Like,
With Gore specifically, I thought the look would be different. I thought they put more effort into making him look more alien, like some
yeah.
plastic whatever,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They
That's
do a
what I
lot
thought
with
too.
other people and other characters. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was out of the question to do it for gore, but I guess he's human-like enough where you don't have to. Um,
Mm.
and there's a weird clip with Christian Bale, and he's like, like with his teeth, like you're the god that I killed, or I don't know, something, right? Um, and the whole black
Uh,
and white vibe they're going for aspects, and then how the trailer
mm.
alluded to it being Jane's villain. I'm sure that's just trailer nonsense.
Mm.
And she's talking about another villain, but they're alluding to in that trailer that like Gore the God Butcher, first villain problems, first major.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I was like,
exactly. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm thinking like, phew.
mm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
um,
Yeah, I'm a little confused. So I caught that too, and I'm thinking, uh, huh? Yeah,
and I
yeah.
thought, it's funny. It sounds like it's gonna be funny, and what's interesting is like I really like the vibe and the look that Thor has as an Asgardian of the galaxy when he's
Yeah.
in that like red like sleeveless and with the hairdo. I
Oh, that was
really
nice.
love that look, you know?
Yeah, it looks like I don't know. It reminds me of like I don't know if I want to say like a '80s type of I don't
Yeah.
know something.
Rock,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Really nice. Long hair again. Like I'm okay.
so,
I love it.
yeah, yeah, it looked really good. But he's going to go right back to his own Thor look, which is fine, sure. I don't know if he's going King Thor, but he has
Mm.
more armaments and stuff, like more, like, which looks kind of cool, but. So I think even so, like an Asgardian of the Galaxy movie would have been fun, seeing him in that role. But so getting him as just Thor, and then with the God Butcher thing, but it's Jane Foster, and she's gonna be the focus, and I don't know how they're gonna do it. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious as well.
I it didn't make me super hopeful for it. I'll say that. It was an interesting, look. I just have to see how it's done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Russell Crowe looks like I think he's gonna be
Russell Crowe as
Zeus.
Zeus, yeah, that was funny, and the whole scene like that they do at the end, it's funny.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's just like interesting though because you wouldn't ever do that to like a woman character, anymore. You wouldn't like have a scene
That's
like
so
that,
interesting.
with
Oh,
two dudes
absolutely
sitting
not.
down. It's like, should we stop this? Oh, in a second,
Yeah, yeah,
like
absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting you say that because yeah, there's a lot of um, people talk that like to use those comparisons online, and it's true. It's true. Yeah, we wouldn't dare put in anything like that online, or in a film, you know.
hmm
It's very interesting. Yeah, and it's funny because I always wonder, uh, Chris Hemsworth's wife. I wonder how does she react to all of this, because obviously he's a goofy guy, so I mean, he's like, lifting up fans and being silly. But what I love is that they have this amazing relationship. I just love, how funny he is. Like, and I could tell, like, he really enjoys being Thor. He enjoys it. He really embraces it. So
yeah.
and I mean, obviously, that's gonna be, who he is for the rest of his life. He's gonna be known as Thor for the rest of his life. Even if he retires now, like that's just him. But I just think it's just he's just hilarious. I just love uh, his acting in his Thor role and just outside, just being himself. And I just think he's hilarious. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what direction the film goes. Because I kind of feel like what is the director's name?
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, yeah, and I just feel like uh, his films are always very comical and funny. So I'm just wondering, you know, the gore, story, like, I think I have slight concerns as well. It's
Yeah,
like, can
there's
this
a
be told?
lot that goes into it emotionally, and like super good just writing for that. But so there's
And we'll
that.
see.
I'm
We'll see.
still pretty new. It didn't blow my mind, change my mind in any either direction. I didn't think it would be worse off necessarily.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, it definitely didn't build my hope for that movie. I'm still, I'm gonna see it, and we're looking forward to it. But
Of course.
and then the
July,
Black
right?
Panther thing again later this year. So
That's right. That's gonna be interesting.
waiting for a trailer for that because that can go any
Yeah.
place and really that's kind of where we're going to see. After this year, we'll really know what's Marvel doing with their legacy characters. Are they just kind
Oh,
of
absolutely.
tarnishing their
Absolutely.
everything they kind of worked for, and the sake of these new ones, you know? And if that's the case, you know, have your thing. I'm not going to see the movies, right? I'll read old stories and old comics before I go to the new stuff. And uh, people have talked about like a revamp, right? Just renewing the properties and starting from scratch. You know, I'm open to that. You know, but
Man, that's not a bad idea. That's interesting.
now that they have more of their properties, they can tell things the right way and talk about mutants and everything too.
True, that's true. I was wondering how it's just it seems like it would be complicated to kind of implement the mutants now. So yeah, I actually like the idea of starting over and just kind of having them
Like a reboot,
start
you know.
over. Yeah, that would actually I could see that working. I can see that working.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'm very interested to see how they're going to start implementing mutants actually because I was thinking to myself either they're going to somehow do some type of supernatural uh, you know, a universe collapsing and everyone gets kind of mixed and matched into the same universe, or it's just going to be like as if mutants were always around, but no one noticed them or something like that, But I don't know how they would pull that off. So yeah, I'm just curious to see how they're going to start implementing X. I know they have to be thinking about it. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see that for sure. Wow.
All right. Well,
Okay.
it's getting pretty late over here. I think we hit on what we needed to hit on. Any
Yeah, yeah. I was looking. Yeah, it's 9:30 for me, so I know it's
11:30 over here.
goodness gracious.
So we hit on religion a little bit earlier. Any religious revelations you have for us? Any gems, James, before we depart, real quick?
You know what? I mean, nothing too complex. Jesus, he has this prayer in John chapter 17 in the New Testament, and in John chapter 17, verse 17, he says, "Lord, sanctify them in your truth. Your word is truth." And if anything, I just want to encourage anyone listening that, when it comes to morality, when it comes to justice, when it comes to ethics, um, we definitely want to use God's word, of course, as the standard. And I know, we probably sound like we're a broken record, always emphasizing that, but there's a lot of things that can be dealt with just by seeking the wisdom of God. He's addressed so many things, and I think that there's a lot of us that complicate life by coming up with our own ideas, and sometimes when we do that, we can adopt philosophies and ideas that contradict what God has already said. So God's word obviously is for us to have some direction to it. He addresses things for us to um, understand, have some clarity and stuff like that. It's a privilege that we have for our Creator to actually give us His word, give us His mind, and you know just tell us straight how He feels about every single aspect of life. So if anything, I just want to encourage the Christians out there to use the Word of God authoritatively and not as a suggestion, but as the standard for how we should be living and perceiving the world around us.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made that everyone has their version of God, but we all ultimately know the same God. We just don't.
Mm,
Some reject, some admit, right? But I
mm,
think not without even making that argument. I won't even take it there this episode because we got to wrap up. We can get into that some other
mm.
time. But
Yeah, yeah,
as
definitely.
Christians, if you're gonna label yourself a Christian, especially like hyper focus for you, like we have an objective moral standard of God's law and of God's word. I think if you don't hold that in high regard, what you can't really justly call yourself a Christian. And there are many people that will, or many people will say they believe in Jesus and they don't believe in the biblical Jesus. Or they'll find scripture contradicts their belief of him or their skewed vision of him. So really just humble yourself and take the time to actually read that big old book that's like, has all that ancient wisdom that you think you know or that you think you know the concept of, but we really don't until we open the word ourselves and read it. So I can attest to that myself. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, if you feel if you believe in God at all, you owe it to yourself to feel this, think out that thought and feel this research, feel that calling, and really discern what that means. And He's told us His law. He's told us what the rules are, and really, it's labeled on your heart too. We know them in our heart. when we're interacting with these scenarios. So it's just search through His Word, and you'll find His calling to you. You'll see the answer. So,
Amen to that. Amen.
all right. Well, I'm going to do a quick little plug, and then we can get some prayers going. Close it up here.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Sounds good.
If you guys like this episode, please like, share, tell everybody you know. Every single person you know about Stage Killer Podcast. Change their lives. We want to help people here. Get people going the right direction. So yeah, if you took anything from this, if you liked the snippet, whatever, there's clips on YouTube that will go up Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. We try to get these episodes out on Monday, but circumstances have come up. Past couple of weeks been busy. We're getting them out as soon as we can. We'll get more consistent soon, but stay with us, bear with us. You can listen on a road trip whenever you are, just audio only on Spotify, wherever else you get your podcast. If you want to see us do this with video, you can see our emotions and our reactions. This is up on the Stage Clear Podcast YouTube channel. Full episodes go up, little clips go up, like I said, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Episodes drop Monday, full podcasts. So like, comment, share, subscribe, please. Do all those things so we know that you enjoy the content. We see the views and everything, so that's awesome. We're getting more views day by day. That's good to hear. Unique viewers, not just the same ones. So that's really awesome. Hit us up in the comments. And those 5-star reviews, too, that would be a tremendous help if you're listening on audio-only formats. So please hit us up with that. We haven't done questions in a long time. But if you guys have questions, please email them to stageclearpod@gmail.com. That is stageclearpod@gmail.com. We would love to read them on the air and talk about them, really get into them. There's different topics all over the world, so if you have one for us, we'd love to share our view. And so check out all the links in the description for all the projects we're working on, all the social medias to find us at, and we'd love to see you in the next one.
Sweet.
All right, what prayer you got for us today, James?
All right, here we go. Heavenly Father, thank you once again for just giving us the privilege to, just minister to people and just have this wonderful friendship and relationship to, talk about these amazing things, pop culture, philosophies, politics, and just even controversial issues. And thank you just for giving us the relationship to, even when we disagree or have, disagreements, we are always cordial with each other, always respectful. And, hopefully we encourage other people as well to, and just involve themselves with the dialogue and things like that. And just continue to use us and, protect our minds, our spirits, our eyes from being, distracted by, the things of this world, and just continue to pour into us, Lord, and reinforce the things that you desire for us as children, just reflecting your nature in Christ. Thank you for everything, God, that you're giving us. In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen. All right. That's a wrap. We'll see you
man.
folks next week.
All right. Awesome.